Hi everyone, my name is James Ellsmoor from Island Innovation, and I am here with Racquel Moses, the CEO of the Caribbean Climate Smart Accelerator, one of our partners here during the COP27 extravaganza that is taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh. So I wanted to talk to Racquel a little bit about her experiences representing the Caribbean and key reflections from the event. So Racquel, to start off, how has it been? How has your, up till now, how's your experience been in COP27 and what have you been doing?
No, it's been really good, because we've gotten to meet with a number of different stakeholders. We've met with the Clean Climate Fund, we've met with Citibank, we've met with the International Chamber of Shipping, and a number of people who are really interested in getting involved in projects in the Caribbean. And also we've had collaborations with Vanuatu and Tuvalu and some other small island states. So I think it's been really useful for us.
And for you, I know one of the big elements here was your investor forum, which you've done virtually over more than a year now. And so it's great to be able to bring a lot of those players in person together. We know that one of the key elements is always finance, as you can see behind us, for any of the solutions here. So what were the key takeaways that came out of the CCSA's investor forum this year?
I think that there is so much of an opportunity for the private sector to get involved, and the private sector is really motivated against the objectives, and that we're not, despite the fact that we're here looking at national negotiations, we're not waiting for anybody. You know, these are things that are actively happening. Dominica is exploring their geothermal. We're getting partners on board, and there are governments who are interested, there are ports that are interested, there are investors who are interested, and there are projects across the piece. And so this is really, as much as we're all together, it's an opportunity for collaboration. And that's what we see our main role as the Caribbean Accelerator. So that's been good. That's been, there will be positives coming out of COP no matter what.
And I think for people who are not familiar with the COP and haven't been here in person, that's maybe a key takeaway for them. Obviously, the negotiations are where this all initially came from, and one of the core issues in negotiation has been loss and damage this year. We're not sure how that's going to turn out. But for people who've not been to a COP and don't understand this, maybe you can comment on the big picture of all these different things, as you said, the opportunities for partnership, investors, and why it's important for the Caribbean to be well represented at an event like this.
I think for us it is to make sure that what we're fighting for isn't forgotten. So I think it's easy to kind of get lost in the negotiation and it just seem like some sophisticated, far off thing. But we are in the Caribbean and so many small island states experiencing climate change now in a massive, massive way. And those stories have to be told. But in addition to that, there are opportunities for us to bring solutions to the table, ways of decarbonizing, ways of adapting, methodologies of innovative ways of funding, different ways of measuring resilience. And so all of these things are reasons that we need to be here with a very, very strong and coordinated voice talking about the things that we are doing and the solutions that we do have.
Do you think the Caribbean is able to have its voice heard? I mean, we just came from the CARICOM Pavilion, and so there is a dedicated space. What are the opportunities there maybe for the future for the Caribbean to increase its involvement have even more of a voice? And are they succeeding at the moment?
Definitely. I mean, we have like Mia Motley, who is, I feel like there are some indigenous tribes in Panama and in South Pole, and they're like, yeah, Mia Motley for sure. So I think that we are having a voice, and we've always had an outpaced impact relative to our size. And it is for us to continue the pressure. The Secretary General of UNFCCC is from Grenada. Grenada is the 11th smallest country in the world. So the fact is that we do have talent, and we just need to maintain our momentum towards making sure that we are heard. There is not an option for us to get forgotten. Our people, we don't want to become climate migrants, but we will become climate migrants if this continues. So we have to keep the pressure on for sure.
Absolutely, it's a really good pointed out. Mia Motley and Simon Steele both being from the region and representing not just Grenada and Barbados respectively, but the region as a whole. I think it's amazing to see how, perhaps even beyond the region, for the global south, how Mia Mottley has become that voice and has managed to cut through the noise of everything happening here and have these very sharp observations, actionable observations for the regions. So one of the key issues, and we still don't know exactly how it's going to turn out in terms of negotiations, and that Mia Mottley has been very vocal on, has been loss and damage. The importance of this for the region as an outcome is obviously huge. And given that we don't know the final results of negotiations, what would be your thoughts or your hopes in an ideal world?
Boy, listen to me, I've been on such a roller coaster of emotions as it relates to the potential outcomes coming out of COP for loss and damage. What I know is that no matter what the negotiators come up with, we're working with the private sector, Willis Towers Watson, Aura, CRIF, on coming up with whether it's insurance solutions or funding solutions to support the recovery from loss, right? So from that standpoint, we aren't just waiting, we are doing. But I'm also hearing like great things like, okay, we're close to an agreement, horrible things, it's all fallen apart. And at this point, I'm just like, we move on to, okay, what happens next? What happens next if there isn't a solution? Well, we know that Tuvalu and Antigua and Barbuda are looking at legal redress from the International Court of Justice and the law of the sea. And so there will be pressure on this topic no matter what comes out of the negotiation. And we have to canvass as small islands around the potential solutions. So we need to, if it's join COSIS, to join COSIS, if it's to add our names, our voices to the call for ecocide, or whatever it is, but we need to all speak with a common voice on what are some of the ways that we can address the situation.
Absolutely, and obviously the Alliance of Small Island States, AOSIS, plays a really important role, especially in the negotiation groups, as do the regional bodies like CARICOM that bring together all these players. And I think that island states together represents over 25% of the stakeholders, or of the island, of the parties, at this convention. So they clearly have a really strong voice. Beyond the Caribbean, for other island regions in Africa, the Indian Ocean, the Pacific, are you seeing opportunities to collaborate, learn, share information based on what you're doing in the Caribbean region?
Absolutely. So I met with the Climate Mobility Fellows yesterday, and they have two young fellows who have come up with new solutions, and both are very different solutions, but they're solutions that would lend well to coordination in the Caribbean, but also there are solutions in the Caribbean that we can take to the African continent. And so there are these opportunities for us to see what are the ways that we are adapting. How are we, rainwater harvesting? How are we powering that with solar? How are we putting in solutions that are cheap enough that at the local community level they make sense? And these are the things that we need to find, because a lot of the media isn't always aware of what we are doing as the Global South, and we need to make sure that we are at least coordinating with each other so that the solutions that work across these borders, we can implement them and help protect ourselves.
Absolutely. I think the media plays such an important role here. It's been fascinating to see, and it's been great to see that there have been several journalists from the Caribbean here, two from Trinidad, which is great, reporting on why, and I guess making what is happening here relevant to the general wider audience back home. And I think getting outside of the bubble that we're in sometimes is really important, critical for them to be here. So looking ahead 12 months, we will be in Dubai for the next COP. What are your hopes for the future, I guess, coming out of COP27, looking at COP28 and beyond? Like, what does the CCSA want to take from these negotiations, and what are the big outcomes for you?
Sure. So I spent a lot of this week talking about transparency and the enhanced transparency framework, and I think that is something that I want to really see a lot more about. I think that can help to measure how far we've gotten against where we are, and certainly to help engender hope and optimism and seeing where there is progress taking place, and to be able to learn from what's happening in different places, and where are we really unlocking the potential to solve this problem. So I'm hopeful that we see a lot of momentum behind Together for Transparency and the Enhanced Transparency Framework. I also, I'm not going to give up on loss and damage, and I'm hoping that something comes out of this COP, but even if it doesn't, to look at what are the ways that the private sector can get more involved in designing new solutions. I also want to see us talk about climate finance in a more nuanced way. So how are we looking at what are the grant requirements that we have, and how do we use that to unlock private capital for projects? So I think, getting the private sector more involved in taking on projects. So I think there are lots of things for us to look forward to and be hopeful about. And I feel like, okay, so I'm on the roller coaster. It's gonna be, they're gonna be ups, they're gonna be downs, and we just have to ride that wave, knowing that momentum is happening, and we have to just keep moving forward.
And clearly, for that private sector involvement, Dubai is going to be a very interesting opportunity to have finance, which is ultimately the issue here at the core of those conversations, for energy and for all the other things that you're working on. Well, thank you so much, Racquel, for your time, for talking with us and for partnering with Island Innovation on the Island Pavilion and everything else. Really appreciate it, and best of luck for the rest of your time in Egypt.
And thank you, James. You're doing amazing work. I remember first meeting you, and you're raising the profile of islands and the work that we're doing, and I really appreciate collaborating with you. I mean, you're one of our main collaborators on getting the word out, and thank you.
Thanks, it's been a pleasure.